It's late summertime, the perfect time to make a healthy, refreshing snack. We are going to make fermented salsa with tallow tortilla chips. We're starting off by blanching 2 pounds of tomatoes. The blanching helps us to remove the skin more easily, so bring some water to a boil and then throw those tomatoes in for about 30 seconds. I then cut the tomatoes in half so that the peels come off more easily. Once cut in half, I just take those skins and peel them right off. Next, I'm removing the seeds. I've been learning a lot about nightshades recently and how they can be irritating to the gut because of certain compounds. The highest compounds are in the skin and seeds of tomatoes. So removing the skins and seeds actually helps to remove some of those irritating compounds in the tomatoes. Also, fermenting does help as well. So after chopping finely, I'm adding those tomatoes to a large bowl. Next, I am chopping 1.5 to 2 onions. I use Vidalia onions, but I think red onions would also be delicious. Fermented vegetables and fruits are something that has been done throughout history for preservation, and it also adds a lot of flavor. I think the reduction in fermented foods in our modern culture is one of the contributing factors to a lot of our health problems because we're not breaking down the foods as much and we're not getting those beneficial bacteria. Next, I'm adding jalapenos. So I'm chopping those up. Make sure to test your jalapeno before you add your quantity because some jalapenos are really hot and some are pretty mild. Mine were pretty mild, so I went ahead and added 2. Next, we're adding fresh garlic cloves. And I always just smash my garlic down before I peel them. That way the peel comes off really easily. So I'm adding about 8 garlic cloves. And I'm finely mincing those. Next, we're adding some cilantro. This is a really big bunch of cilantro, so I'm adding about half of it. It depends on your taste, but I think a big handful is a good amount. And finally chop that. As well as adding beneficial bacteria to our gut, lacto-fermented vegetables and fruits also increase the digestibility of the foods we're eating oftentimes and can improve the nutrient absorption. Now I'm adding the juice of 2 limes. I am now mixing up all of our fresh ingredients, and next we're going to add some whey. If you don't have whey, just add an extra tablespoon of salt. And you can use any salt as long as it's, try to find a salt that is a cleaner salt. I like to use Redmond's real salt. So if you have fresh whey on hand from making yogurt or other dairy products, you can add 8 tablespoons. Next, I'm adding 1.5 tablespoons of salt. Also, make sure your salt does not contain iodine, so it is not an iodized salt. If you aren't using whey, this is where you would add 1 extra tablespoon of salt. And I'm combining all these ingredients before putting in a jar. I like to use a quart-sized jar with a wide mouth so it's easy to get everything out and in. So I'm scooping everything into my jar. I'm kind of pushing everything down so that everything is submerged in the liquid. And then I'm adding all the remaining liquid in the bowl to the jar. You want to make sure you have about 1 inch of space before the top. Since it will be fermenting, it may bubble a bit. So I'm sealing this tight because this is an anaerobic process. We don't want any oxygen to get in there. And I'm letting that sit for 2 to 3 days. After 2 or 3 days of fermenting, you can put your salsa in the refrigerator if you prefer it cold. I'm going to be enjoying my fermented salsa with tallow tortilla chips. I have yet to find healthy tortilla chips at the store, but they're actually very easy to make. So first you melt some grass-fed tallow on the stove. You get some thin tortillas, make sure they don't have any fillers like guar gum or anything like that. I cover each side with the tallow with my hands. Then I stack them up and I cut them in quarters, which I find makes the best size tortilla chip. For the tortillas, make sure you're buying organic, and also the ingredients should just be organic corn, lime, which is a mineral, and salt. Then I lay them out on parchment paper on a baking sheet, and I preheat the oven to 375 degrees. I salt one side with fine salt, and then I bake them for about 10 minutes. Near the end, you do want to keep a close eye on them, and when they look kind of lifted and browned a tiny bit, then you know they're ready and they'll be crispy. They do take a minute to crisp up once you take them out of the oven. And I'm going to enjoy my snack with some fresh avocado. If you're wondering why we go out of our way to cook our tortilla chips in tallow instead of buying organic tortilla chips from the store, I have not found any that are cooked in any kind of oil that is not high in polyunsaturated fatty acids, which I believe are not good to be cooking in high heat, which when you make tortilla chips, you are cooking them in high heat. You're basically almost deep frying them. So I'm having some raw cheddar cheese with my avocado and tortilla chips and my fermented salsa. We really enjoyed this snack. The fermentation process adds a flavor that you can only taste when you ferment it. I hope this tutorial was easy to follow and inspiring, so you can make fermented salsa and maybe even tallow tortilla chips at home too.